Hey YouTube, I'm Chattanooga Economist, and I assume you clicked on this video because you're considering working for Instacart and you want to get an idea of whether it will be worth it. Well, you've come to the right place. I've been a full-time gig economist for almost 2 years. Most of that time has been spent working for Instacart. In fact, I've performed over 1,500 deliveries so far. I've also made many training videos and vlogs about Instacart that have received over 300,000 total views. In this video, I'm going to go over the basics of the job, how the pay works, and how much money you can expect to make. In part 2, I'll cover the major pros and cons of being an Instacart shopper. I'll have a link to part 2 in the description below, as well as at the end of this video. Just bear in mind that I'm not going to discuss trivial tidbits of the job or life hacks and things like that. This is just meant to provide an overview so you know what you're signing up for. Instacart is a website and an app that enables customers to do all their grocery shopping online and have their items delivered. Although groceries account for the vast majority of orders, customers can also place orders through liquor stores, pet stores, club stores, and pharmacies. The shopping and delivering of the customer's items is performed by us, the Instacart shoppers. That's where you come in. It's important to note that Instacart shoppers are not employees. We are 1099 independent contractors, and we're free to choose when we work and which orders we want to do. There's no minimum or maximum number of hours you're required to work. You don't have a boss, but you will have to sign a contract that stipulates the rules of the job. And since this is not a W-2 job, payroll taxes are not taken out of your earnings. You are essentially a small business owner, and you can incorporate if you want to. It's up to you to keep track of your earnings, mileage, and business expenses for tax purposes. I have some products in my online shop, as well as a few training videos that will make that a little easier for you. That being said, don't ask me how to prepare your actual tax documents. I highly recommend you consult an attorney, a CPA, or a licensed tax professional when it comes to that. Don't listen to strangers on the internet. Instacart used to require shoppers to schedule their shifts in advance, but they've since gone completely on demand. That means all available orders, or batches as Instacart calls them, are placed into an open queue. Shoppers in the local vicinity are able to look over the available batches and choose the best one for them at the time. The shopper accepts the batch they want and gets to work on it. You aren't obligated to accept the first batch you see. You're free to choose whichever one you want. If you tap any batch in the main queue screen, you'll be taken to another screen that will show more details, which will help you decide if the job is worth it. I have an entire video that discusses this in greater detail. The batch details screen provides you with an earnings estimate, which shows both Instacart's pay and the customer's tip. You'll also see a map of where you are, where the store is, and where the customer is. It'll tell you the mileage from the store to the customer, as well as how many unique items and total units they want. If there's any kind of additional pay, it will be noted. Plus, there are little preview pictures of the items that you can scroll through before you decide to accept the order. The majority of the work you'll do involves both shopping and delivering a customer's order. These are called full-service orders. Once in a while, you come across orders that are delivery only. Although most batches are for one customer at a time, you'll occasionally be shopping and/or delivering for 2 or even 3 people at a time. Since most of us are already familiar with the process of grocery shopping, you probably already know how to do most of the work. That being said, there are a lot of nuances to Instacart shopping most newbies don't consider. For example, the order in which you shop the items, arranging your shopping cart properly, bagging the items properly, loading your car properly, and of course, having good customer service skills. All of these things will take some time to learn. Once you've got them down, you'll be able to fly through these batches quickly and easily. Although Instacart does have some training lessons within the app, most shoppers don't find them all that helpful. That's why I created an entire library of training videos to show you how to become a better shopper. If you follow my advice, you'll find you're getting higher ratings and bigger tips. Instacart pays shoppers 3 ways: the base pay, which includes mileage compensation, peak boosts, and promotions. You'll also receive tips on top of your Instacart payment, but we'll come back to that in the next segment. The Instacart base pay is $7 for full service orders and $5 for delivery only orders. But these rates are not set in stone. They will increase for up to 3 reasons: if the distance to the customer is considerably long, if the customer ordered heavy items, or if the batch contains a high number of unique items and/or total units. I also suspect Instacart increases the base pay in areas with a high cost of living. This is why shoppers in cities like New York, Seattle, and Los Angeles make way more money than shoppers in regions where the cost of living is low. The only problem is nobody knows at what point the base pay is increased nor by how much. Instacart has never revealed how their pay algorithm works, not even I can explain it to you. Let's not forget about peak boost and promotion. A peak boost is Instacart's version of surge pricing. If the customer demand exceeds the supply of shoppers, Instacart will begin to add extra pay to orders whose delivery times are approaching or overdue. When customer demand is projected to be high, Instacart will announce a promotion where all batches receive a guaranteed peak boost on certain days at certain times. Unlike most gig economy platforms where the tip is not shown in the upfront pay, Instacart indicates exactly what the customer's tip is in the batch offer screen. Most customers tip 5% of their estimated total, but a few are more generous and tip 10 or even 15% or more. Some tip a flat dollar amount. Just bear in mind that if their tip is proportional, what you'll actually receive can fluctuate by a few cents or even a few dollars if you have to replace or refund items. However, this can work in your favor if you replace an item with something more expensive or the customer asks you to add items to their order. Some customers don't feel comfortable pre-tipping, but will tip cash at the door or in the app after delivery. The problem is Instacart doesn't give them the ability to indicate this when they place their order. If you see a batch without a tip, it's a major gamble as to whether the customer will actually tip. I do not recommend accepting orders without an upfront tip unless Instacart's payment alone makes the job worthwhile. Of course, the most frequently asked question by prospective shoppers is, how much money can and will I make doing this job? There really is no one-size-fits-all answer to that question because there are so many variables. The cost of living in your location is probably the most significant factor, including how generous your customers are with their tips. How well you do the job and how many hours you're willing to work significantly affects your earnings as well. To get an idea of what you can make, I recommend finding a Facebook group for Instacart shoppers in your area and just asking them. But if I absolutely had to provide an answer to that question, I'd say you should be able to make at least $15 an hour when you start out. That might not sound like a lot, but the better you get this job, the more money you'll make. I personally tend to average $20-something an hour, although I've made as much as $30 an hour during peak periods. I hope this video gave you a good overview of Instacart shopping. If you think this is a job you'd like to do, use the link in the description below to start your application. If you're still not sold, check out part 2 of this series where I'll go over the pros and cons of Instacart. And like I said, I have an entire library of training videos and vlogs that will probably answer every question you might have about doing Instacart. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. If you watch all the way to the end, you are awesome. Thanks for watching, and I will see you real soon.